What's up and welcome back to Talk Nutrition. Today we're going to talk about the diet that already fell apart, or at least for many people. There's actual statistics on this where the New Year's resolutions, they usually fail. Just about 80-90%. I've even seen 95% somewhere, but the actual number doesn't really matter. It's most people. Now, here's the thing. If 2 weeks into this year, the diet already fell apart, first of all, I don't want you to think I already fucked it. You can't fuck up that quick. You can't fail yet. Let's not try to squeeze a 6 to 12 plus month journey into a few rushed weeks. You cannot do this, Just how you'll never reach your goal within 21 days. You'll never be able to fail in 1, 2, or 3 weeks. So let's just get that out of our heads right away. You cannot fail this early. Now, what you can do is allow yourself to stop because of one bad week or even a bad day. And that's how I'm going to help you with the things I would do if I were to fall off 2 weeks into the year already. Because it is very common, right? It is common. Most people do this. And it's the same mistakes that people make every single year. Nothing's changed since 2012 when I was overweight, when I was trying to lose weight, before I lost 30 kilos or 25, 30 kilos, just about 50, 60 pounds. Nothing's changed. And even before that, people have always been making the same mistakes. And the things that work have pretty much always been the same. Now, obviously, research kind of catches up at some point, and, we learn new things. And obviously, there's people with functional conditions, right? We're talking thyroid, gut health, those kind of things. And obviously, there's some more complications there. But for most people, the same things have always worked and always will work. That's maybe good news, too. Because when I say this, I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but you're not a special snowflake. And what I mean by that is that you're not that different for most people who try to lose weight and can't. It's not that you can't lose weight. It's not that your body's messed up. And sure, there are things like weight loss resistance and the other issues we talked about, but that already requires more help than just a general, like a podcast, even like mine, right? Too. General fitness advice. It's not going to go down with a meal plan and training plan like most people. But in this episode, we'll keep it general and we'll stick with the mistakes people make that I see time and time again. Since I started with this whole fat loss and fitness thing in 2012, since I started coaching at the CrossFit gym in 2019, nutrition 2020, right? It's always the same stuff. And it's almost like we never learn. Now, let's just dive right in, shall we? Because I want to clear this up and I want to keep these episodes a bit shorter, right? A little bit more bite-sized for you to kind of digest and just apply. That's the biggest thing right now. I want you to apply this stuff. Cool? So let's dive in. Number one is, instead of going way too aggressive, way too fast, what I would do is lower your calories by 20% based off of your maintenance calories and stay there for at least the first 2 to 4 weeks. Now, here's the catch. You should only do this after 2 to 3 months of fueling, nourishing, eating enough, meaning you eat at maintenance, meaning you eat the amount of calories your body requires to function optimally. You get all the micronutrients, you get the fibers, you get all the great stuff that you need. You're lifting, you're building muscle, you're building that metabolism, you're building the routines and habits. And don't skip this part. Most people do. My clients didn't gain weight over Christmas, by the way. First of all, the biggest fluctuation I saw was 2.5 kilos, just about 5-6 pounds. And it was down 3 days later. We all maintained. A maintenance phase was planned through Christmas. People who were dieting before Christmas took a break. My new clients, specifically the ones who came in under eating, low protein, and just no good habits and routines yet, we do 2 to 3 months of maintenance sometimes, depending on the person. And it could even be 2 to 4 weeks, to be honest with you. This is where everything requires nuance and it needs to be individual. But I will guarantee you this. If you, instead of jumping into fat loss, spend 2 to 3 months of growing muscle, building solid habits and routines, and just focusing on fueling and nourishment and not dieting, your results will be better down the road. And that's why that is the only requirement for this first step, or the first thing that I would do differently. Don't drop to 1,000 calories, 1,200 calories. Even if you have the most willpower, like, it's gonna backfire. The metabolism will adapt quicker. You are way more likely to fall off because, to be honest with you, who's going to be able to stick with that after, the first weeks of high motivation kind of, fades? Do a 20% deficit. Stick with that for 2 to 4 weeks. Maybe then at some point you want to drop another 100 calories, but even there, the goal is not to cut calories drastically. The goal is to get away with as much food as possible for as long as possible while keeping steps nice and high. That's how you do this. So that's number one. Number two is, instead of doing a whole bunch of cardio to burn fat or earn food or, burn calories, whatever, or doing the HIIT workouts, I would just lift weights the traditional way, right? What you see people do at, let's call it like a normal gym, right? Resistance training, 3 to 5 times a week, depending on your schedule. I like it 5 times, but hey, if you're super busy, 3 to 5, that range, pick what works for you. You're also going to keep macros the exact same. No matter how hard you train or whatever your fitness tracker says, you keep your macros the same across the week. You don't burn hundreds of calories at the gym. Exercise is actually the smallest component of your total daily energy expenditure. Because the goal of training is not to burn fat or to burn calories. Get that idea out of your head. It's to build your fitness. It's to build your engine. It's to build muscle. It's to keep your metabolism in a good spot. And specifically with fat loss, the goal is to maintain muscle while you drop fat, because your goal is to look leaner, not just lighter, right? Huge one. After all these years, I really would expect that people learn, but they don't. And it's also not their fault. And it's also not your fault if you have been going for the fat burning workouts or the summer shreds or the quick, the cardio for fat loss. Like, it's the misinformation that after decades is still out there. And that's why I'm clearing this up for you, because to be honest with you, you are better off not doing any cardio while lifting weights and keeping your steps in a good spot than trying to burn yourself. Because also there, it will backfire. It does. Now, we can get more nuanced with this. A little side note here too. When you do cardio, you burn a certain amount of calories. Now, at some point, because your body's a really solid adaptation machine, right? At some point, for the same effort, you'll be burning fewer calories. Your body gets more efficient. This is normal. But that's also why, if you do the cardio for fat loss, what's next? 2 hours a day, every single day. Like, you cannot do this. You're going to burn yourself out. Do I think cardio is necessary to stay healthy, live long? Absolutely. I'm not saying don't do cardio. I'm just saying do it for the right reason. To build that cardiovascular engine, to live longer, fitness. Like, that's why we do the cardio if you choose to do it. That's why we lift weights. To build, not to burn whatever. Make sense? And it's hard, to be honest with you, like among these 5 points, like it's hard to pick the one that's the most important, but I do have one that I think is very, very key. I will keep that for the last one. Now, number 4. Instead of ignoring sleep and ignoring my high stress levels and ignoring rest, I would make these absolute top priority and non-negotiable. Because chronically high stress and too little sleep, just being fatigued, right? Inconsistent sleep, by the way, too. Sleep consistency is almost more important than getting 6 and then 9 and then 4 and then 5 and then 10 maybe to catch up, and then the average is still decent. Like, consistency is more important here because you get better sleep quality, and circadian rhythm is very, very key. Your body runs on its own clock, right? You want to respect that. But going back to what I was saying, if we're too stressed for too long, if we sleep too little and or inconsistently, you're going to see less fat loss, more muscle loss, more hunger and cravings. And there's even a change in brain activity where you kind of go more into that animal instinct and self-control and willpower go out the door. Things like decision-making, all of that stuff is affected by this. Stay on top of your sleep. Protect that 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Get it dialed consistently. Same roughly like time window for your wake and sleep times, including weekends. I know you want to party in the weekend or wind down, whatever it is, and stay up late and watch movies, but the body doesn't care. The body really doesn't care. If you can control your sleep so much so that you are, let's say if you aim to be in bed by 10, at least if you're in bed between 9:30 and 10:30, you should be pretty good. And I keep that wake up time the exact same. And that's hard sometimes because I know you want to sleep in sometimes a weekend. And I'm not saying don't do it, but keep it as consistent as possible. Regulate your nervous system. I really think that's the flex of 2026. A regulated nervous system and 7 to 8 hours of consistent sleep. It's such a game changer. The last episode we talked about alcohol, right? Sleep and stress management, actually even more important. Now, lastly, number 5, and this is one that I truly, truly swear by: self-reflection, learning from our mistakes, and always trying to be a little better. So instead of allowing myself to turn one bad day into a bad week, into a bad month, or every single time saying, fuck it, I'll give up, I'll try again on Monday. If I were to catch myself and if I were to notice, hey, I fell off, I would go right back to the plan, the very next meal, not tomorrow or some shit like Monday, the very next meal. Right now, I'm going to have a glass of water, go on a walk, and we're going to move on, but not without self-reflection. And this is where people skip the most important part that I think on this health and fitness odyssey, people miss out on. Sit down with your own thoughts, no distractions, look at where it went wrong, and then just try to do a little better next time. Because this is all or nothing. You think that it has to be perfect. It is not going to be perfect. So let's do this. Let's look at, okay, yesterday I overate, or maybe just now, like let's say I just had this dinner and I just gave into the chocolate or whatever. Let's say that happened, right? And that's fine. That's no worries. But let's say that happened and you say, okay, cool. So I overate a whole bunch. I couldn't control myself. What was the initial little domino that started this whole chain of events? Was it a certain feeling or emotion? Was it a certain scenario? Was it peer pressure? Let me try to understand myself. Oh, actually, you know what? I went in super hungry and had cravings because I barely ate protein and fiber throughout the day. I skipped my lunch or I skipped my breakfast. Now we have information that we can work with, and the very next meal or the very next day, we just get right back to it and we do a little better. We learn from our mistakes. Don't skip this. And this is what I know now, wish I would have done a lot more of in the early stages of my journey. Because life will continue to teach you the same lessons until you listen. Just how every single year people make the same mistakes when it comes to fat loss through, into the new year. It's not for lack of trying. They just try the wrong things. And if everything I just discussed kind of felt familiar, good. Means there's nothing wrong with you. Just means you need a better strategy. I'm going to help you with this. No more restriction. No more fasted cardio at 5 a.m. and then skipping breakfast again. Grinding on coffee and willpower and protein shakes, whatever. No. We're going to go through the steps that we discussed today. The 5 points. I want you to pick one that needs the most work and then start mapping out what needs to be done to make that change. And in order of importance, you're going to, and I'll just pull them up in a sec. Let me see real quick. In order of importance, you're going to work through not dieting too aggressively, too fast. And of course, get real with yourself. Did you actually build the habits and routines first? Did you actually spend 2 to 3 months at maintenance? Yes or no? Building muscle, right? Are we lifting weights instead of trying to burn fat or earn food or, do fat burning workouts? They don't exist. Come on. Look at structure instead of motivation. And you know what? Now that I see this, I actually skipped this one. Sorry about that. Number 3. Instead of relying on motivation, I would rely on structure. I would plan my meals ahead of time, especially for busy weeks. Because look, I know you're busy, but it's not a surprise. Next week is going to be busy again. We know that. Plan your meals, pre-track them in Chronometer. Saturday, go shopping, buy everything for the week, stack up your fridge and freezer. Sunday, meal prep, and you're going to eliminate decision fatigue by just making it clear already. We're not reactive here, we're proactive, right? We try to remove all the randomness, remove all the decision fatigue. I would just already want to decide ahead of time, because that way you don't need no motivation to stay consistent. You're already good. Makes sense? So that was actually my 3rd point that I accidentally skipped, but I'm glad we caught it in this little recap. Now, of course, you're going to look at your sleep, your stress, your rest. Don't train every single day, by the way. You need rest days. And then, of course, the self-reflection. You are not going to give up after just one bad day. We're just going to sit down with our own thoughts, accept that we just made a mistake, and then we're going to try a little bit better. And before I let you go, don't try to rush this. Like I said early on in the episode, you cannot rush a 6 to 12 plus month journey and try to get it done in a few weeks. It never works like that. It physically cannot happen. And not even physically, the habit building part, which is literally something that takes time because in your brain, you need to start making new connections. Those connections need to become stronger, right? You need to kick bad habits. It takes time. You cannot shortcut this process in any way possible. In any way. And hell, even if you were to lose all the weight in a few weeks, you didn't build the habits and routines, so you're still not going to live the healthy lifestyle. So give this stuff time. Losing a kilo or 2 pounds every single week is way too fast for most people. It's way too unrealistic. And look, I made the same mistake in 2012. I went to my fitness pal. I was like, hey, maximum weight loss per week. Gave me 1,200 calories. Well, I had no idea what I was doing. So I burned out on that. And I fell off, of course. So that wasn't great. Aim for just about 0.5 up to 1% of weight loss per week. On average, not every single week you're going to see progress. And that's why we're going to double check with measurements every 2 weeks, photos every 2 to 4 weeks, in case the scale isn't down. Because I have so many check-ins every single week of people in their weight loss phase, or fat loss phase, you should really say, who tell me the weight's not down, whatever it is. And this is usually newer clients, and then they learn that lesson. It's like, actually, no, we're still losing body fat. And then I show them their measurements, and it's down anyway. And then we're still dropping fat. Make sense? I hope that helps. And as always, please do feel free to reach out on Instagram. I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm here to help. And of course, if you want to learn more about coaching, you can always DM me the word coach on Instagram. But look, if you have a quick question, if you're a returning listener, or even a new listener, right? Please know that my DMs are always open and I'm always here to help. I'll talk to you in the next episode.